message, faith without works is dead. As we continue, we're going to get some examples here on why James says that this is true. Why James says this is true. So go ahead and read James chapter 2, verses 20 through 26 if you haven't yet. And let's dive deep. Stop the tape. Get on down with it. And then when you get it, let's get back. But if you've already read, man, let's jump into it, okay? So the questions we ask here are, what is the author actually saying? And then we ask, who is God in this? And what is he trying to convey about God? And then we say, what is he trying to convey about man? And then how we can apply these truths to our lives, these principles to our lives today. The first question is, what's James actually saying, man? And so in the scripture today, he says this. He says that if you don't, you know that faith without works is worthless. So the Greek, man, it's so funny because he uses ergon and then arge. And so these are like cognate words. I believe that's the term, but they come from the same root. And one means work and the other one means work less. So really what he's saying is, don't you know that faith without works is workless? James playing a little play on words there, man. He got a little poet, you know what I'm saying? He didn't even know it, but he probably knew it. He probably did it on purpose. But anyway, he's saying like that faith without works is workless. It has no power. And then he gives the examples. He gives examples, two examples, Abraham, and then he gives Rahab. The first one, Abraham, is the guy. You know what I mean? He is the patriarch of the Jewish people, the head guy, esteemed, highly known, and praised for being the first of his people. And he says, if the guy who is the first of his people had to do something, it says, then that means we probably all fall up under that umbrella. And what he means is that his faith was seen in his action. When the time came to stand up and do what he was supposed to do because he believed God, he did it. And that time was whenever God gave him the ultimate promise, which was to give his son. And he said he offered that son up as a sacrifice on the altar. And then then James says, because of that, it says that faith working together with works completed his faith. It showed the world, and it showed God. It says, now I know that you would not give up. Man, I can't remember that scripture. It's in Genesis. I'll put it in the show notes. But he's like, now I know that you will not withhold anything from me. You know, God knew that, man. But it was kind of a testing of us to purify us and wash away all those things. But he showed it. Now he uses justified, and the word is dikaiosune, and that word has a couple of meanings. It could mean justified, it could mean righteous, and it could mean vindicated. And so I think that when James is using it, he's also using it as a way to say that his faith was vindicated, that it was demonstrated, or it was proven, I guess is the best word. It was proven to be true because of the actions that he did. Now, I said he gave two examples. He gave an example of Rahab, the prostitute. It says Rahab, the prostitute. It's so funny, man. A buddy of mine, we were in a group and we were talking about Rahab, and he would always say, the prostitute, afterwards. But that's how James addresses her. And I think it's because James wants us to realize the type of woman that this person is. So he goes from the greatest of the great, Abraham, and then he moves into what we would call the worst of the worst. You know, she's a prostitute. She's not in the people of God. She is a foreigner, and she is in a city that is about to be destroyed by God. And what does she do? Well, she uses her act of faith to save the people who were spies that was in the land, hiding them and then sending them on another way. So the background story of that is, if you don't know, is that when the people were going to take over Jericho, they sent spies to see, and Rahab hid them while the people of the town were looking for them. They knew spies were there and they wanted to find them, but she hid them because she trusted God. And then she sent them out where they wouldn't be caught, to go back and report what they needed to report to Joshua. And so this is kind of an example of earlier when we talked about the demons believe and tremble, because the people in the city, oh, they believed in God, absolutely, but they didn't place their trust in him. You see, they believed that God could destroy them, and so they wanted to take every action necessary to stop that from happening. While Rahab believed God and knew that there was nothing that was going to stop him, she decided to team with him. So the people of Jericho, they believed God and they trembled. But Rahab, she believed God and she trusted in him, had faith in him. And she proved that faith by helping the spies. You see, what I want to impress upon you is the fact that the actions that Rahab and that Abraham did, that these actions was out of faith. It's because they had this faith in God that they lived it out in their life. True faith is evidence, vindicated again, is evidenced by the life that they live. The life we live is what indicates the faith that we have. He says, just as the spirit or the body is dead without the spirit, so works without faith. So faith without works is dead. Faith in itself is dead if it doesn't have any works. So what's this say about God? Well, I think it's saying that God in his power through his spirit works actions in us. Because we need to remember that there's nothing that we can really do. We are sinful creatures, but God by his spirit moves in us and causes us to do these actions. I love a verse in Ephesians where it says that he has works that we are to do, and he made beforehand, and it's only for us to walk in them. And so I think this is the same way, is that God has given us this faith. As we live our lives and we have faith, then all we have to do is act on that faith, live it out. And it is God who gives us the spirit to do that. Man, what's it say about him? Well, it says that we demonstrate our faith by our actions. That is how we show our true faith. It's by our actions. Simple as that. And the application today is just as simple. Live out faith. Live out faith. That's what we need to do. So I just want to commend you today is take that step, man. Whatever the step is, the next step you need to take in order for in order for you to demonstrate that faith. Whether it be to start reading scripture, which if you're with me, man, I hope you continue to, or if it's to just take an active time to pray, just to sit back, pray, and talk with the Lord. Or if it's maybe to show love to that person that, man, ain't so lovable. Ain't so lovable. But whatever it is, man, take that step today to demonstrate the faith that you have in Jesus. I appreciate you guys for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.